Hello, everyone. Welcome to Four Lads Rangers Midweek Live. Hope everybody is well. Just before we come on air, Chris said, "I'm getting a bit sick of seeing Stevie." Can you believe it? Honestly, welcome, Chris. That was lovely of you. Thanks, mate.
Yeah, I don't mean that, mate. I don't mean that. I must laugh though, Kenny. He said to me earlier, this will only be about 45 minutes. There's nothing much to talk about. He's clearly forgetting who he's going to be on with me and you, Kenny. So,
Kenny, you well? How are you? You good?
Yes, I'm not bad, mate. I just said to you, I'm absolutely shattered. I've my day off today and I've sat and done nothing. I woke up tired. You know, you're getting old when you wake up more tired than you were when you went to your bed, mate. It's grim. But yeah, I agree with Chris. I'm sick and tired of your face as well, mate. So
How pleasant. Look, there's that. So all I've got to say to the pair of yous is get up, you. Thanks, Natalia. That's very pleasant of you. So you can just go into the favourites as well. Thanks very much. Anyway, gentlemen, Chris, we haven't heard from you since the weekend. Rangers beat Hibs. What did you make of the weekend's performance? And just nice to get a result overall.
yeah, I think I said last week the most important thing really now, performances don't matter. It's all about the results, especially the situation that Russell Martin finds himself in. But I don't really care what situation Russell Martin finds himself in. I think what will be with that situation. I just want to see Rangers win, and yeah, very happy to get the result. I must say I wasn't fully confident. Not that you should never be confident at home against Hibs. Of course, you should always be, but especially with the way we've been playing and the results leading up to that game, I wasn't fully confident. But yeah, it was nice to get the win into the semi-final. Obviously, we'll talk about the draw, I'd imagine. And yeah, I was fully expecting tonight. Sorry, when I was coming on with you guys to be discussing the protests and stuff like that, and the pressure ramping up even more on Russell Martin. I must admit, I really was expecting that to be the case. So it's nice that we can actually talk about a positive footballing result for a change.
Yeah, Chris Kenny was on with me on Monday night. Who stood out from you for the weekend? Is it just a case of little by little, gradually players finding their way and getting better? And how did you kind of look at the individual performances?
Nico Raskin, absolutely sensational, and that might sound a wee bit hyperbole, but and you know, considering what's been served up in the last couple of weeks, it really was quite a sensational performance for Raskin. Sensational individual performance, and makes it all the more bizarre why he was bombed out in the first place. I totally get there's been a clash there quite clearly between him and the manager, but I think again, it's going to sound like I've got this agenda against Russell Martin. I really don't, but well, maybe I do. But Russell Martin needs to be bigger than that. He needs to realise that regardless of clashes or whatever, you have to put your strongest 11 on that field. And not only your strongest 11, you have to play your best player. And Nico Raskin is our best player. And for me, again, I might be looking too much into this, but Raskin sent a massive message at the weekend to the manager, because let's be honest, it was a slow start to the season for Raskin. He wasn't anywhere near the level as he was towards the end of last season, but that at the weekend was brilliant. Looking at the other players, I thought that the other players looked pretty decent. The new players, I thought Makoma. I didn't see anywhere near enough praise for Makoma. I thought he was brilliant, especially the second half. Really positive driving forward. Miovski really needed that goal. Didn't do an awful lot out with the goal. A few bits here and there, but he really needed that goal to get that monkey off his back, so to speak, getting his first Rangers goal. Conor Barron, I thought he was pretty good as well. But yeah, for me, it's all about Nico Raskin. But I don't want to dwell too much on the negatives, but there were still a few things that really worried me. I know that the Hibs goal was a handball, clear handball, right decision, but that long straight diagonal cutting us open again with the defence, that we really need to sort that, because I was really quite pleasantly surprised that Hibs weren't looking to exploit that a lot more especially after Boyle got that goal. and against more cleverer teams, we're still pretty vulnerable to that, and that really needs to stop. But again, that's me focusing on the negatives. I don't really want to do that too much, especially when you get the result. But for me, yeah, the two that really stood out for me was Makoma and Raskin. But Raskin is the obvious one, isn't it? So,
well, Kenny, Russell Martin obviously spoke today. It was press conference day. He said a few things. He said that he was, in a perverse way, he was enjoying the scrutiny that this job brings him, which I suppose he has to embrace that because it's always intense. He also said he was relieved to get the win against Hibs on Saturday, but he doesn't feel as if he's under any less pressure. Just a few sound bites from today. What did you make of the? I kind of liked it. Do you know what? You have to embrace the pressure. You have to embrace it, and you have to try and deal with it, I suppose. But what did you make of that? I found it interesting.
Embracing it's quite a strong way of putting it. I think accepting it's more the way he's going to have to deal with it. You just need to accept that it's here, and you know, with all respect to the previous clubs he's been to, Rangers are just a massively different thing, where it's just a bigger football club. The media scrutiny and stuff like that is just miles away from what you're going to get at Southampton or Swansea or MK Dons. It's just the way it is. However, I actually quite liked the way he put it, where he turned and said, well, perversely, in a perverse way, I'm kind of enjoying it. I mean, you're like, well, you're not going to... I don't think MD can enjoy what happened to him at 4:30 on Saturday. You're not going to enjoy that. But I understand what he's trying to say, but he's basically saying to himself and to us there that regardless to what's going on, I'm going to do the job to the best of my ability, and I'm enjoying the work that I'm doing behind the scenes. I'm trying to get this team or the squad to progress and become better. I'm trying to get results. And, you know, I know we're going to come to the chairman and stuff that he said, but I think he is enjoying the fact that he's got the backing of people at the football club, despite what's going on results-wise and performance-wise. And, you know, well, there's no point in beating about the bush. The results haven't been good enough. So Saturday was a welcome relief for me more than anything else. But I think it's a massive weight off his shoulders, although he said that it wasn't all he felt was relief. I think that the fact that he's got a result will ease the pressure on him very, very slightly. Not so much with the supporters. We all know how most fans feel, but in terms of the media scrutiny and stuff like that, then I think it will ease very slightly till tomorrow night, and then on Sunday against Livingston. And this is what he's got to accept and understand, Stevie, is that here it is day in, day out, and it doesn't go away. Whereas at certain clubs he's been at before, it's just your local press and it's done and it's away and it's forgotten about. Here it is talked about 24/7 every day of the week.
Chris, he mentioned Joe Rothwell returning, but he also talked about Max Aarons and Nasser Giga. I've never really experienced anything like what they have at Rangers, and that's been a tough kind of a baptism of fire. And it got me thinking, you know, we've not been good enough, right? League form's been absolutely terrible. We crashed and burned in Europe. And it's interesting when you think about things that he's saying, that he said that we did look more like our old self on Saturday, or more like what he's trying to do. And I suppose that goes back to our kind of gripe against it, that we didn't look in any way like, because there was games there where we just didn't look anywhere near resembling a team that had been training together and things like that. So it got me thinking that, and he's saying that it's such a steep learning curve for the players, and them ones mentioned that, what if these players can? What if they can do what he's saying and come through that adversity and begin to get on a run? And there's a lot of ifs and buts in that, because we haven't really seen much aside of a half decent performance on Saturday, because it wasn't overwhelming. We shouldn't egg it up too much or get too high with it, but it was at least a result. So it got me thinking, what if these players can come through that and begin, and we can get stronger starting with tomorrow night?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I do, and to a certain degree, I cannot understand what Russell Martin's saying, but I'm not buying it, Stevie. To be honest, it's damning of our recruitment policy that we're signing these players that don't understand what it takes to play for Rangers and need time to settle in and bed in. It shouldn't be the case. I'll go back to Ross Wilson, who said that any player he signed, he knew everything about them on and off the park, knew their personality, knew their attitude, knew what they were like, knew their traits as human beings. Clearly a lot of shite, because obviously you look at the job Ross Wilson done, but in essence, the message behind it is something that any major football club in Europe, or even indeed the world, the recruitment department should know these things about the players, because character, mentality, personality, that all does come into these things. And the fact that he's actually admitting that these three players, who, by the way, will be Rangers' highest earners, or certainly in the top 6 or 7, that he's coming out basically saying, they didn't really understand, it's been a steep learning curve, but they're starting to get it. I'm not buying that, Stevie, at all. Will they go on a run under Russell Martin? That remains to be seen, and I hope they do. Of course I do, but I seriously doubt it. I don't think they will. I think that the game on Thursday, yeah, I don't think there's much interest in the way of Rangers fans that there probably should be for a Europa League game. I think the game on Sunday is going to tell us a lot, because that's going to be a battle, that's going to be a fight, it's going to be a war. Do I believe that these players have got it in them to roll their sleeves up and meet that head on? I don't think they do. But again, that remains to be seen. And I look at these three individual players. Rothwell will come good. I've absolutely no doubt about that. Rothwell will come good. Aaron's, I don't know. I don't think he will. And Jigger, I've actually seen qualities in Jigger that you go, this guy's actually not a too bad defender. But when he's got the ball, he's a bag of nails. He is shitting himself. And that's down to Russell Martin's style of play. So how can we ever think that he's going to come on and settle into this role in the Rangers team and become a real big player for us this year, when Russell Martin's going to continue to ask him to do it, when quite clearly he's so uncomfortable doing it that he's making mistakes. There's so many lapses in concentration for him. So this is the thing about Russell Martin that really does annoy me. He doesn't quite realise that he blames the fans. Back to your infamous press conference, Stevie. He blames the fans about anxiety and the pressure from the stands, and the players are scared. He's actually said that. This isn't me making it up. He's actually said that. Whereas what he's not doing, he's not taking accountability that actually his style of play is creating just as much anxiety and fear in the players than it is in the stands. And this is where he just totally will never admit that. And I can't see, ultimately, to answer your question in a long-winded way, I can't see these players coming good and settling in at Rangers and becoming the players that they probably can be and fulfilling their potential at Rangers whilst this system remains in place at all. And I'm sorry to go down the negative route, but that's where I'm at with it. And that's, if I'm being realistic, looking at it in the medium to long term, I can't see just about any Rangers player currently that will fulfil their potential playing this system. I think Martin needs to change, and in order for Martin to really ride out this storm and survive this and come out the other end still the Rangers manager, I really do think he needs to change his approach to this. And it's all very well, Steve, I know you might retort and say, but he's changing his approach 3, 4, 5 times during the game. That's fine, but you're already 2-0 down at the time, you know what I mean? So it's difficult for me to agree with the manager on this. And again, I really don't have an agenda. Please don't think I do. I'm only saying it as I see it.
No, not at all. And I'm not going to retort. I'm going to fire it straight to Kenny because that was interesting. It was quite an interesting kind of point you made there. Chris doesn't buy into the players being able to turn it around. I will say right now that I think that Joe Rothwell is a much better player than he showed, because we saw it at Leeds, and he can't possibly come up the road and look as exposed and as poor as he has in the system, the way we use him, within the spate of having a really good season at Leeds only a couple of months. Max Aarons, I think, is a better player than what we're seeing. Has probably suffered from being out on the left and then coming into the right. Likewise, John Souttar, playing on the left-hand side of the defence when he's really on the right. I think there's more for these players to give, and I think we should see more of them, Kenny. But Chris made the very valid point: is can they do it under Russell Martin? Because although Saturday was good and it has to be a building block, you and I both know that we're only ever one game from being back to where we were before Hibs. So how did the players survive in that without really having that right character that we haven't maybe seen yet?
Well, these players are getting the same 10 minutes that every other Rangers player when the sign gets, mate. That's just about it. And it's true. We are not a patient bunch of supporters, mate. We will not accept substandard performances, whether there's an explanation or reason for it or not. If you're rotting in a Rangers jersey, then we automatically presume that it's far too heavy for you. I think there's mitigating circumstances in certain things. I think what Chris has said about the anxiety is a really valid point. For the head coach to come out and say that they're scared in this environment, well, I don't think what he's asking them to do is helping any of that environment that he's helped to create, because he's the one that's created the environment where the supporters are not happy because the performances have been rotten. I also think that a number of the issues that we have seen in terms of the way that Russell Martin's trying to play is far too many square pegs and round holes. I mentioned this last week when you look at the amount of different players that are playing out of position at times, and I know he's trying to rectify that now, so I'm not going to sit and throw it at him this particular podcast, but that hasn't helped. But yeah, I will agree with one of the things that he said today, is that I do think that this squad has got the potential to be a very, very good one. Whether that is going to happen or not, time will tell, right? We kind of all have our own feelings on that, and the majority of the supporters don't believe it will happen, the same as Chris has said there. What Chris has said is a kind of epitome of the way Rangers supporters are feeling at this minute in time, that we've no belief in what's going on at the minute, and it has to change very, very quickly. And for all that we got a win on Saturday, it wasn't the greatest of performances. It was a 5.5, 6 out of 10 performance. That's all it was. There was still many, many flaws in our makeup, if you like. So on these players, I think Max Aarons hasn't been helped, as you say, but been instantly just thrown over to the left-hand side when he doesn't have a left foot. I don't think that's helped him. John Souttar over there has created a massive imbalance in the defence, which is, you can tell from Butland to the two centre-halves, to whether it's Cavanagh or Aarons or Magoma, that there's a lack of trust or belief in each other in that. The midfield we've already mentioned last week as well, mate, that Joe Rothwell is a number 8. That's any time I've seen him, he was playing as an attacking midfielder. We've got him playing as a solo number 6 anytime he's played for us so far, and that isn't what he is as far as I was aware. So, you play the Belgian international number 6 there, because that's the best player we've got to play in that position. As I said last week again, we've got Asgard playing out of position at times. He's now going into his natural number 8 hole, where I thought he had his best game for us on on Saturday. I thought he looked really pretty decent. Play the wingers in the right, in the right positions. Don't switch them over and leave them on their unnatural foot trying to do things. All these kind of things will help Russell Martin, and more importantly, help the new players. The more simplified the message has become over the last couple of weeks, the more structured we began to look, Stevie. That's not to say that we're looking great by any stretch of the imagination, but we are beginning to look more structured. But it's all about results. And the fact that these guys can turn around and say that they've never experienced anything like it, well, as I said on the agenda, mate, welcome to Glasgow. This is what you get. And if you're second best in Glasgow, then you are nothing, and the pressure it just cranks up week by week until you start winning games. It's that simple.
Well, currently we're just about a ball hair away from being better than Partick Thistle, so I think we should worry about that more than anything. Chris, he spoke about the crowd on Saturday, and he said he's not surprised it wasn't full because it was a cup game. I think Saturday night cup game at home to Hibs in the quarter-final of the cup would have been close to being full under any other manager potentially. I think that was more of a sign of where the fans are. Tomorrow night we go to a game at Ibrox, and there's rumoured to be anywhere between 12 and 15,000 empty seats. If that isn't a message about how the fans are feeling in wider and in general than anything else, I'm not sure what is. And pretending that it's because it's a cup game, Europe, you know yourself, it would have been full. Ibrox would have been rocking tomorrow, but Ibrox won't be rocking tomorrow because it's not even going to be. There's going to be a quarter of the seats empty. It's got. I understand what he's saying and why he says it, but that's a message there that's bigger than the results. That's a lot of the support are visibly turning their back on Russell Martin, and I know he can't say that or admit that, but it might be an uncomfortable truth, but it is the truth.
It's passive-aggressive nonsense from really. It's what we came to expect. Just rubbish, to be honest. And the thing is, like Stevie, you just said there, you can't really expect him to say that. I mean, he pretty much already has said it several times. He's already said we didn't want him and we don't like him because he's here and he's too sweaty to wear a suit, and obviously he had a chest infection.
But I actually don't like his hair, but
well, that's for very different reasons. I think that's just envy. The guy, he comes across as if he's doing us a favour by being our head coach or manager. As I say, it's passive-aggressive nonsense. He knows fine well that should have been maybe not a full sellout, but as close to a sellout as you possibly can. The time was a good time. It was at the weekend as well. Families, match-going families. It's a good time for them, and you kind of look at that. If it was a league game, 3:00, and wasn't under the current circumstances, in terms of who the manager was and what was happening on the field, and if it was a league game at 3:00, that would have been as close to full as you possibly can. And the fact that the kickoff is a wee bit later, I think that actually goes in favour for the fans. I really do. And then Stevie, you yourself said that a Europa League game Thursday night, an even later kickoff during the week, not at the weekend when things seem to be a wee bit quiet. The matches are usually full, and this will be a big indication of where the fans are at this coming Thursday, because I fully expect a good section of Ibrox to be empty. Obviously not actual section, but scattered around. Quite surprised to actually hear that it could be as much as 10 to 12,000. That is actually quite even a surprise to me. I feel as if I've got my finger on the pulse with the mood at the Rangers fans at the moment, and even that's a bit of a surprise to me. So if that doesn't make him realise that this is purely because of him and Patrick Stewart as well, obviously can't really leave him out of the current predicament, then he's even more deluded than I thought he was. But he's not deluded. Russell Martin's a clever guy, by the way. Let's kind of put the cards on the table right. He's not silly. He's not stupid. It's just bluster. It really is. Cup game on Saturday, so it shouldn't have been full of whatever, just absolute rubbish. I can't believe that a Rangers manager's come out with that. And as I said, Stevie, the point was obviously you saying maybe he can't say that. He pretty much has already said it several times about his feelings with the fans. The fans are creating this toxic environment. They didn't want him there. Blah blah blah. So why he's come out with that, I do not know. Again, it's trying to pull the wool over the eyes. I seen one of the comments there. Maybe the word is arrogance. Yeah, maybe that's a more apt word for it. But it's just what we've come to expect from him.
Kenny says that he's been treated differently than any other manager in the support, and I kind of think that's right in terms of I've never seen such a negative reaction to any appointment than there was to Russell Martin, because there was such an overwhelming want for him not to get the job. I think that's clear to the point where everybody preferred Ancelotti, who's currently setting Botafogo on fire over in Brazil, and they want him out and all sorts as well. And what does that say for our recruitment or potential recruitment of managers when that was the two choices that we were seemingly left with? But I kind of think Kenny's got a point to a degree where he talks about him being treated differently. There has been no leeway from a section of the support. I don't know if you can call it the kind of hard wing of the support that just will not give him an opportunity at all. And I think that's maybe what you're seeing from those potential empty seats tomorrow night, because there is some that just will not accept him no matter what he does. And has he been treated differently? I can see that. I think there's been zero tolerance for him, and I think that's different from what we've seen in managers in the past.
Yes, you're right. There is less tolerance for him than I've ever seen in response to a manager or a head coach being appointed. There's a lot to unpack here, though, because I will say this, that if you look at the Dynamo Kiev game last year, I know it was at Hampden, there was only about 38,000 at that. If you look at the Real Betis game, there was only 30-odd thousand at that. There has been incidents of late where these European packages are not selling the way they should be. And I don't want to talk about Celtic at all, but our package is working out about 13, 14 quid per game.
A lot of money, isn't it?
That is, well, it's hard to justify that, Stevie. Doesn't matter what, forget about them and the fact that it is them. If you've got a team in your city turning around and charging you £40 pounds, £50 less for a package, £60 less for a package, that's hard to justify for Rangers, because at the end of the day, it's the same competition, so it's a lot of money to be added and welded on, if you like. However, I do agree with you guys when you're talking about the Hibs game. That you should have, it might be a little bit less than sold out a cup tie on a Saturday evening, but I would have expected 44, 45,000 there any other year. It's Hibs. It's a good tie. It's a good game to go and watch. This is the opportunity for us, Chris had said there, for those that maybe don't have a season ticket, that can take their family, can take your kids. You can make a day out of that. And it wasn't really, there wasn't the uptake that there probably should have been on that. That's probably down to the results and the performances at this minute in time, more than the pricing of it. So there is different things there. Kenny's point is absolutely spot on, though, that there is people turning their backs on this already, because there is a slight arrogance about Russell Martin with certain things. I don't mind our manager being arrogant at all, by the way. I think it's a good thing. I think confidence and arrogance is it's needed. Nobody's ever going to tell me that Walter Smith wasn't confident and arrogant when he needed to be. Of course he was. So that I don't mind, but you need to be able to back it up. And at this minute in time, Russell Martin hasn't been able to do that. I think he was very dismissive of the situation with the supporters today, more than arrogant, though. I think it was quite a flippant response. But I don't believe, and as I say, I'm finding that hard to believe myself, that I'm giving Russell Martin a little bit of slack here, but I don't actually believe that the attendance tomorrow is necessarily all down to him. I think the owners need to have a look at themselves, the board need to have a look at themselves and understand that when you're charging the best part of 50 quid a ticket, when those across the city are charging 33, 34 quid, you need to have a look at yourself. Because it's all adding up, Stevie. This is the point about there's supposed to be a feel-good factor at Rangers at this minute in time, and it's dropped and burst like a lead balloon. It's just collapsed, and there is no feel-good factor, and stuff like this is not helping. We talked about the CEO the other day. That's not helping. Results aren't helping. The manager's back being up isn't helping. All these things don't help, mate. So it's not just one thing here. I think there's a culmination of many, many things.
If I could just come in, Stevie, just before, just on the Russell Martin being treated differently thing. Yeah, listen, I don't think there's any doubt about it. No one wanted him, so he's obviously going to be treated differently. But what's the one thing that would have got fans on side? Winning football matches. He's made the worst start in 50 years as a Rangers manager. We're sitting 11th in the league. We need to remember this. We can't. I'm not going to tell Rangers fans how to feel and what to think, but perspective is needed from Rangers fans as well. We're 11th in the league and it's nearly October. That's why we're not having him. That's why he's been treated differently. In all intents and purposes, right now, and I know it's not going to last. Well, I hope it's not going to last, but right now we're in a relegation battle. It's ridiculous. It's nonsense. It's madness. And if he was sitting with 15 points out of 5 games, top of the league, we would all be on here today singing our praises and actually apologising to the guy. So I don't understand how else to I don't know, treat the guy or what my opinion should be the guy other than what it is. This is a complete and utter mess so far, and the fans have been justified in not wanting him because everything that we feared is coming to fruition, and more, by the way, because I'll tell you this right now, I expected round about this time, maybe we're 4 or 5 points off Celtic, maybe third or second, 11th place, man. I don't know what else we're meant to feel. Maybe I am just being hypercritical because I was never having the guy to begin with, but I go back to last week's podcast where I said that Rangers fans aren't stupid. We're an educated bunch when it comes to football. We know what we're going to get with Martin because we watched the Premier League. We understood he didn't blow the Championship away with Southampton with the biggest budget. It was kind of par for the course with Southampton. MK Dons, people keep saying he done a good job with MK Dons. He was mid-table in League One. I don't really understand what was so good about that, especially when he actually inherited a pretty decent team. So I'm really kind of failing to grasp how else he's meant to be treated or what our opinion of him should really be at this point or this juncture when you consider where we're at. Humiliated in Europe by Bruges. And people say Bruges were a good team. Of course, Bruges were a good team, but we beat the Belgian champions last year. We actually beat them quite comfortably as well at Ibrox. So they shouldn't really have turned us over that badly. And then the start to the league, I'm 35, so it's the worst league start I've ever seen in my life. And I watched Stirling Albion beat Rangers in the 3rd division. So it's really quite something. It really is quite something. And I want this, like, seriously, Stevie, you know what my thoughts were about Russell Martin pre-appointment. Did not want him at all. But you also know what my thoughts were when he was appointed, right? Nothing I can do. Let's get behind the guy. And I actually genuinely was behind the guy. But when I seen it all unraveling, I was like, and as I say, it's a lot worse than what even I expected. And I didn't have the most positive outlook on this.
And excuse me, it's because I was sitting, not saying anything for ages. Had to fight all my urges just to scream out. What was I going to say? Aye, Andrew Cavanagh is in town. There is a board meeting tomorrow, Kenny. He has backed the manager again. As this is everything that we were led to expect. And there's only 2 ways this is going to really play out. you're either going to be delaying the inevitable, which the Union Bears protest hinted at the weekend, or he's going to be an absolute genius, and this will, in 3 months' time, begin to really look like a good decision. In 6 months and 8 months' time, we'll have shiny things to show for it. It seems like far away at this moment in time. Easy for me to say, but Andrew Cavanagh, there's no in between here, because he's backing him. He's not going anywhere. He's comfortable in his position. So there's only two ways for me this is going to play out. He's either going to be a genius and this is going to work out, or it's going to fall flat and we're going to keep stumbling until that banner and the inevitability about us becomes undeniable. There isn't an in-between, because Rangers aren't an average side. You're either winning and you're good enough, or you're not and the manager goes. And I'm not sure whether or not there's another way that this plays out.
No, there isn't any other way this plays out. It's either, as you say, the man's an absolute genius and he can see something that none of the rest of us can, or the Union Bears are correct and all you're doing is kicking the can down the road. So I think most of us feel that all we're going to do is kick the can down the road, because none of us are convinced with the situation that we find ourselves in. Absolutely none of us. And that's an unusual situation to find ourselves in as a fan base, where none of us are in disagreement about this. That if we don't start picking up results very, very soon, I've just alluded to this as well, that the crowds are going down. Crowds are down at league games despite people buying their season tickets. I think the season ticket book numbers are down slightly this year from the last couple of years. The League Cup games was there. The European packages are clearly down. People are voting with their feet. And if digging your heels in and, being that little bit, and I don't want to sit there and say the word indignant and mean it as a slight. I just mean that to kind of dismiss what the fans are thinking and say, no, we actually know better. We have from Cavanagh to Parag Marathi to Greta Steinson and all these people behind the scenes at the 49ers, and they can see something here that's going to happen. And well, if it doesn't happen, that's what Rangers fans will do. We'll go and above Russell Martin's head, and we'll go for you then. And it's exactly what Chris mentioned last week. Well, we should be able to ask him, well, why then? If you're not going to sack him, why are you keeping him? Because Chris mentioned this last week, and I thought it was a cracking point. Ask them why. And we're not going to, yourself, we can't do that. We can't get to Andrew Cavanagh in that way to ask that question. But because you can't ask that question, people will vote with their feet. And that's the kind of catch-22 that the club has at this minute in time. And I've said it on here so many times, Stevie, that I'm tired of repeating myself. But the owners, Patrick Stewart, everybody concerned there need to understand that there is no patience left amongst Rangers supporters. We've had a long decade and a half of utter nonsense to wade through. So when we get the slightest whiff of more nonsense, we kind of go, that's another piece of nonsense. And there's now 0 days since our last nonsense, effectively, to use that meme. And that's the problem that our club has, is that you can turn around and do these things, but if we don't agree, we've had enough of this. So it's a very, very difficult situation to amend at a boardroom level. The only person that can fix it is Russell Martin by getting results and continuing to get results. That's what he needs. Forget performances from now till Christmas and go and win every single game, and then you'll get a little bit of leeway and a little bit of expectation. Because at this minute in time, to again quickly allude to what we were saying in the last question, the perception of Russell Martin here being at Rangers is that he's failed upwards. And that's never going to be acceptable to Rangers supporters, where he's failed upwards. He gets sacked by Southampton, and we're a bigger, and with all respect to Southampton, certainly in our eyes, we're a far more important club and historical club than Southampton will ever be. And if you fail there, how the hell are you getting our job? And that's the way we came into this. So that's the kind of predicament that they all have, Stevie.
Genk tomorrow night, gents. Ibrox Underlight Euro night is always good. If we ignore everything else that's going on, which I'd rather focus on Genk. Genk have got 8 points in 8 games. Friend Ross Hutton of Heart Hand was at the media press conference earlier, and it was interesting. He was talking to a Belgian journalist who said that this is a false position for Genk because their football doesn't reflect that, and they should be a lot higher, and they've been unlucky and just chances haven't went in and stuff like that, which I found interesting. We'll get a really tough test tomorrow night. The blueprint is there for them to go and copy, Chris, in terms of how we defend and how we've given space. So they're going to try and do that, which is interesting because they'll come and have a go. So it's about how we can react to that. Rangers were unpicked quite a few times by Hibs, 2 or 3 times. Bowie went through, Boyle went through, that goal got chopped off. Boyle had a clean header. You would worry that if those chances came about, that Genk would be in a position to take them. So there is, ideally, the last few years, I would have been Genk at home really confident about this. So I'm looking forward to it tomorrow night. I want a positive energy. I want Rangers to go and try and win the game. It's a big night under the lights. Everything that involves, you've got to try and keep that positivity going. But we would be remiss to just think that this is going to be a walkover, because Genk, Belgian football, and already proved Genk's going to be a tough task, regardless of where they are now.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it, Steve. It's going to be a tough game. It's not going to be a gimme, but I totally agree with you. Years gone by, you would look at this game at home and you would strongly fancy us, as would most people who watch European football, definitely. They are going to be very intricate side. They will pick us apart once or twice, probably more than that, but hopefully only just once or twice. And the reason that's quite a pessimistic outlook is we are giving up chances every single match, at least kind of 2 or 3, purely the way that we're set up. So we kind of have to hope that they have the strikers have an off night, because they will get chances. And then on the flip side, we need to hope that we create enough, which we're not doing. And this is fundamentally the problem. We're not creating enough chances and we're giving away too many at the other end. But I do totally agree with you entirely, Stevie. This is a game that would have had no fear for me in the last couple of years gone by. I would have been looking forward to it. I would be expecting a win. But this coming Thursday, I'm not as confident. I'm not looking forward to it as much. I just feel a bit kind of deflated with European football this season, purely because I just don't see it as being important to me as a Rangers fan. Of course, such is the nature of being a Rangers fan, I reserve the right to change my mind if things start to pick up, and we do progress to the last 16 or last 32. Of course I do, but right now we're just in such a mess domestically that I don't know. I suppose the best way that I can put it is, when we have been struggling domestically in years gone by for the last 3-4 years, Europe has always been a welcome distraction, because you know that the teams in the years gone by, they're going to turn up for the big European games. They're going to go up for it. They're going to put a performance in. They're going to put a battle up against the opposition. And more often than not, we've been getting favourable results. Out with 1 or 2 kind of outliers. I obviously can remember Leon last year. That was definitely an outlier, but you know that the players are going to put in a performance and hopefully get a positive result. With this team, I think that's where I'm at with Stevie, because I'm not entirely confident that this team is going to be that relief, if you will, that midweek European relief, that we don't have to worry about domestic, we don't have to think about it. We can just look to this distraction and enjoy this distraction before we go to the bin fire of the domestic campaign. I actually think it's just going to be a continuation from competition to competition, whether it's going from domestic to European or European to domestic, purely because we've seen it. Your point's absolutely spot on, Stevie. We've seen it on Saturday. A lesser team in Hibs, I was going to say no disrespect to Hibs, but I don't actually care. A lesser team in Hibs did get opportunities, and a team like Genk, if we give them the same opportunities, they are going to punish us. So yeah, sorry for the pessimism. I can't be as positive as you, Stevie, about Thursday. But as I say, I reserve the right to change my mind at any given moment when Rangers win 5-0 on Thursday and come on the next Wednesday and say, "Oh, we were amazing." So hopefully that is the case. By the way, hopefully that is the case.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately it's all what we want. Kenny, I'm looking for more positivity in terms of on Saturday's victory over Hibs, especially, you know, individually. I want to see more from Gassama, who we can now say is Gassama because that's what he called himself on Rangers TV. So I've said Gassama, and tried to keep myself right. People shout at you if you get these things wrong. I remember we called Aaron's for weeks, and people were going mad. But anyway, so I thought he looked good on the left. I want to see more from Tello Asgard. Could we get Miovski more involved? These are the positivity that I'm kind of looking for. Diamande and Raskin always seem to turn up in European games, but I think there needs to be... We need to adjust it slightly because I still think we're weak right down that middle. We're too easily kind of carved open. So there's things that I want to see happen positivity-wise and things that I want to see happen off the ball just to kind of make us try and keep going on the trajectory of upwards, because it has to happen. If we go into this game tomorrow night and get beaten, then that pre-match Hibs feeling is back ahead of going to Livingston on Sunday, who, by the way, will come at it and fancy it no bother at all, which we'll talk about, obviously, on Friday night's show. But we want to try and build on the little building blocks we put in place on Saturday. And again, I'll say it wasn't amazing. It wasn't terrific. Maybe I'd like to see Ant-Man start instead of Mikey Moore. But aside of that, I think we go with more or less the same team.
Fucking hell, mate. You've came to me for positivity. I'm kind of stunned.
I know it's like you're like they're like fucking the happiest guy in the world compared to Chris tonight. But
I know it is because Chris is on. You can stay on, Chris, because I'm apparently positive now. No, look, I do agree with you in terms of I thought Gassama, whatever he's called, Gassama, I believe. If the boy's calling himself Gassama, what's we Tom commentator thinking of? Don't know where he gets that, we Tom Miller, but come on.
See if he just starts putting the ball in the net again, he can call himself whatever the fuck he likes, for as far as I'm concerned.
No, but at the same time, mate, this is what I'm trying to say. If you're looking for positivity, one swallow doesn't make a summer here, right? And
I had so many things to say, but carry on.
Look, for me, it is a situation, right, where we're under pressure here, right? That Chris has said that before there, that it used to be a welcome irritant, a welcome distraction. It's now an irritant, European football. How dare you, Paul? That's so offensive, man. It's just one of these things that I look at it, right, and I'm finding European football a little bit of an irritant. I'm like Chris here, where I do actually feel that I'd rather be focused on domestic football this season, and it's almost like the point is, well, you've not won your first 5 league games. The league's kind of out of sight already, and what do? You're between a rock and a hard place as a fan, so you kind of, well, I wasn't really interested in Europe this season, and all of a sudden it's become a kind of thing that we need to kind of focus on. On Gassama and Magoma on the left-hand side, I think that's something that we should be looking at, making sure that stays together as a wee partnership there. That was cracking, and it has looked good and looking better by the game. I'd want to see Ant-Man play tomorrow. I think he merits a place. I think he came on the other day and he looked really pretty decent. The midfield will be an interesting one. I would actually go with the same midfield as he started on Saturday. And the back four will probably remain exactly the same as it was. So in terms of positives, yeah, I'm not going to bullshit, mate. I'm not overly positive about anything at all at the minute. I just feel that it's a situation where if it's a welcome relief to get away from domestic football tomorrow, then the pressure cranks right back up again on Sunday. So, yeah, I understand what you're saying about being positive, or finding positives from Saturday. And there was a few, but the reality is that we're still massively under pressure as a team and as a coach, as a head coach. We need results, mate. So start tomorrow night. And I'm looking forward to going with you, to be fair. If that's a positive, that'll be a good night and we'll enjoy it. But and I'll look at Chris, he's like, he's no sure.
I mean, if that's the stage we're at, where meeting me in the gantry is a positive, mate, then we've got more problems than we think. I want to thank Pedro for clearing up Gassama. Pronounce it Gassama na. Right, okay. So that clears everything up. I don't know what that's supposed to mean. Gentlemen, let's end it there. Let's hope Rangers go and get another result. Not only tonight, but also on Sunday before we get together again next Wednesday. Because Jesus, if we don't, I hate to see the state that you two will be in. So we can only hope for positivity and a couple of victories. I'm not unrealistic about where we are. I really am. It's not been good enough. It's been miles away, and I agree with a lot of what you're saying. But if I dreaded going to Ibrox tomorrow night, if I dreaded going to Livy on Sunday, then I shouldn't be doing it. And I don't feel that way about going to watch Rangers. So maybe it's naive, maybe it's whatever, but I'm just hoping that we can continue to, little bit by little bit, get a wee bit better each game. And I'd be happy with that, starting with another good result again tomorrow night. So, yep, roll on tomorrow. I look forward to it. And hopefully, as I said, we get that result. Chris, a pleasure as always. We look forward to reconvening next week.
Well, that depends on the results, doesn't it? If we win, no, I won't be looking forward to it. If we get beat, of course I will. Nah. Obviously, I want Rangers to win. And I like what you done there, Stevie. You tried to turn that against me and Kenny towards the end there. If you're not looking forward to it, was the point. So, me and you're the downers, Kenny. Let's nothing ever changes, mate. Nothing ever changes. But
no, I merely meant if I was going.
No, I know exactly what you meant. I'm just trying to bring some banter to a very negative end to the show. Obviously, that's not what my intentions were, or even Kenny's. But I just think we've really where me and Kenny were at there. Obviously, I do believe that is where most of the fans are. It is a good description that Kenny used as. It used to be a welcome distraction. Now it is a kind of irritant. But what I definitely will say, just to kind of sign off, the game on Sunday is far more important than the game on Thursday, and that's where I'm at. A negative result on Thursday and a positive result on the Sunday is good for me. Obviously, I'm greedy, of course. I want both results to be positive, but I'm also quite realistic on the matter. And if I was to pick what result I would rather be positive, it would be the one on Sunday, because we really need to start climbing that league, because it's embarrassing as a Rangers fan to look at that constantly. But yeah, listen, it's been great once again. Second show, Stevie. I had decent feedback last week. I don't think I'm going to have decent feedback this week because the true Chris is out. But I'll continue to plug away as long as I'm welcomed by you, Stevie. That's all that matters.
I'm definitely going to be called a happy clapper this week, that's for sure. But I'll just delete the comments. I'll leave the bad ones up about Kenny and stuff. But Kenny, as ever, mate, it is a pleasure. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow night on the gantry.
You picked me up early, mate. I'm looking forward to it. You're even bolder than me. It's brilliant, mate. The only person I know that's actually got less hair than me. But I'm taking my hat because I think it's going to be cold tomorrow. But I'm just laughing at the comments. So some guy says, "Oh, that's utter nonsense, Kenny." Some boy called Richard, mate. I always talk nonsense. I don't care. You can have a go at me all you like, mate. It's just one of these things, mate. I've actually had a right giggle at Chris because I forgot how much he likes the sound of his own voice, mate.
That makes two of you and me as well. But anyway, Thank you, everybody, for joining. Much appreciated. Enjoy the football if you're watching tonight. I think it's Arsenal Port Vale for us in this household, chosen by the youngest, who has a liking for Arsenal, and I really don't know how that's happened. But that is what it is. So it's Arsenal Port Vale. If you're watching anything else, enjoy. Thank you, folks, for joining us as ever. Thousands of you watching, plenty of you in the comments. In the description, it does tell you how to become a member and support the YouTube channel. You can go and enter the Kamar Roof competition, which we're giving away some Kamar Roof journals, which he happily signed for us. Nice to see so many people have entered since I highlighted it the other night. Please keep an eye on the members only channel, because there's extra shows and things as well. And for members, we are looking for you to come on to Four Lads Have a Dream. If you want to, please give us an email, fourladshadadream@gmail.com. It is spelt for, not the number 4, which I often give out to people. So if I've done that, I apologise. It is 4. ladshadadream@gmail.com. Get in contact with us. You can come on First and Favourites with David Herd and talk about your Rangers favourites and first and everything else. And we are also looking for podcasters. So if you fancy joining this illustrious team of happy folk, being bald is not a necessity. It does help, but it's not a necessity. And get in contact with us, and you can maybe come on and give your viewpoint. But thank you for joining us. As normal, thanks to our sponsors, Rhino Express, Clyde Fire Extinguishers and Joinery, Afro Industrial Solutions, CSD Air Conditioning, and our partners, Black Rooster, Art of Gold. Please check out Kenny and I. We'll be on the gantry tomorrow night. Good luck to Rangers. Let's keep this going, get another good result, and just go from there, and we can cheer up and be happy. Maybe. Thanks for watching, folks. Have a good night. Take care. Catch you all again.
The Four Lads podcast is sponsored by Rhino Express, Clydeview Joinery, Afro Industrial Solutions Limited, and CSD Air Conditioning, in partnership with Black Rooster and Art of Gold. Thank you for listening to or watching the podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show.